scrappy crafty friends, and welcome to another Tool Time Tuesday. Every Tuesday a different group of ladies will feature the tool of the month, and we talk about how we use that tool, and a lot of the ladies will show you an example of using that tool. But what I like to do is go back and find examples of how I've already used that tool in my previous layouts that I've done, and then I will link to whatever videos that I might have already created. I'm going to make a playlist for that, and I'll share it in my description. So don't forget to go check out all the ladies who have hopped along already this month and who are coming up next week, and who have hopped along today. So my video is going up a little bit late on this Tuesday, but that is how life happens sometimes. And sometimes you look at the list wrong and you create a video for the wrong tool, and then you have one that's ready for the next month. So this month, our special tool is dies and craft dies. And it's funny because I'm looking at my dies and I'm thinking, I don't have a lot of dies that work well on scrapbooking. And that's something that I found when I was had my store and I was purchasing supplies and products for the store. I found that dies were not really meant for using on scrapbooking. Not in the way that I would, at least. I tended to try to purchase more larger words and things like that, but I still was mostly thought of dies as something that you would use for card making. So here's a good example of that. I actually purchased a kit from memory close to my heart, and it was to make cards using a really sweet, cute stamp set, which included the die for it. And it was this set. It's called Summer Vibes. It's called a workshop, but I don't think they sell it anymore. But it was really cute. It had the snow cones and everything, and all the paper and the instructions on how to do it. And so I created them, and I die cut them. You stamp them first, and then you die cut them, and you can just layer your papers up and make some really, really adorable cards. Well, as I was creating those, I ended up with a few extra little pieces, and I don't like to throw things away. So I think I ended up with a few extra of these like lollipop kind of, or what are these things called, like popsicles. And so when I was creating this page, I had an extra little popsicle, so I added it to my page. So that's really the only die cut on this page, but it goes really well with all the other ephemera that was already available from the collection from Becky called Sweet Rush or Sugar Rush or Sweet Rush or something like that. So it was really sweet and cute. So that's one way that sometimes you just save those extra little elements that you have, and you just add them to your page as you can. This one, now, most of the dies that I have, mostly the dies that I ever use, stars, because with a boy, I find I don't like flowers as much. I don't do a lot of flowery things. I don't collect a lot of flowery ephemera. I don't have a lot of flowery paper if I can help it. So I tend to have a lot more stars. And I tend to replace, anytime I see a flower, I tend to replace it with stars. So I have this set, and I have a few others that go along with some stamps. So I have that set. I love the nesting dies. I also have a circle set that has stitching. This is really helpful and handy, and you'll see some of the ways that I've used that one. And then every once in a while, I'll use a stamp set that has the die that comes with it or goes with it. So here's one that uses the stars. And this one, I actually created this paper. I painted this paper, inked it for some other reason, and then I just decided to use my dies to cut out some stars, and I used that in my background. This one is probably supposed to be like frames that you would cut out and put it around your photo, but I thought it would be cool to actually just put it behind my photo as like a layer. So that was one of the first Mix It Up Mondays that I did, I think, way back when. here is that one that was the controller, and I stamped it and then I cut it out, and I actually stamped it on some paper that was inked just for fun. This was actually a Cricut cut out that I used. So it's a cut file, and then this one is actually a stamp. So that was cool. And then I actually used my circle die with the stitching to cut the circles out. This was a scrap left for Joanne when she reached 1,000 subscribers, I think last year. And then here's some more of those stars. And then this, I layered them on top of another cut file. This might have also been a scrap lift. I don't remember. Yep, scrap lift Crafternoon in 828. So if you can see, she used the hexagons in the background and then florals going up the corner. So I used hexagons in the background and stars going up the side, because that's what I do. I tend to take, anytime I see a flower, I'll replace it with stars most of the time. Have yet to probably do a layout where my son has flowers all around him. I'm just weird like that. It's not a problem with anything. It's just how I am. All right, so here's some from my 6x8 album that I did. This is a die that if you cut it out, you're just supposed to make, like, you can make a little booklet. It looks like a coffee cup, a travel cup, and then it has this little piece that slips in and out with, you maybe put like a gift card or something, and I chose to use it to put my little photos. You could put a journaling card on there, and it just slides right in there if you do it right. So that was one that was a die. I had to learn how to do that one by myself. This one, I used my circle dies to actually fussy cut the background of a paper that had a whole lot of different patterns on it. This is a Pink Fresh Studios paper, and I love some of the phrases, and I don't like to fussy cut. So I just chose to use my dies to fussy cut in circles. Then on this one is actually stamped, and I have the coordinating die. So I inked the paper, stamped it, and then cut it out, usually using my little die. So a lot of times those dies are meant for people that do cards, and they are shaped to go around the edges of the stamp. So it worked pretty well for that. And then here's another one where I used circles, and I believe this was a scrap lift. And I chose to use my circles to highlight the different photos on my pages. So that's another way of using dies. I love that circle die. It's just one that I use very often. Now, I did join a Stamps of Life card club that sends me a die every month to make a card, a flippy card, and they're really cool. I haven't done one yet, but like the one I tried to do was this rainbow one, and I have, when you cut it, see, here's the die, and when you cut it, as far as I could tell, you end up with one of every size for the paper you're cutting. Okay, there might be a fancier way to do it where you don't end up with one for every size. But if you do that, then you end up with approximately 6 different rainbows, because you can mix and match them to be different rainbows. I tried. I could not be inspired to create a layout that used those pieces, so I chose not to use those pieces. I also have like this kind of nice die is a like scallop frame. Again, these nesting dies are really cool and helpful, and it's nice to have ones that are square. I do have that rectangle one. Like this is super, super cute. I have no clue how to do it. It's all these different pieces. I'm not a die cutting person. I'm just not. But I do think that they could be really fun, and there's videos on how to do it. I just have to look it up and figure it out. So really, like I said, the main ones I usually use the most are these circles and stars. Sometimes if I have ones that have the stamp, I'll use that. Sometimes these tend to be kind of small, as you see. compared to like a 12 by 12 page, these could be pretty small. But if you work small, which I tend to do sometimes in these 6 by 8 albums, then having a smaller image to stamp and use on your layout could actually work really well, right? So it could be an advantage. I also have like this one and this one, which I bought because at the time my son was playing baseball and he has glasses, and he's also loves to play video games. So here's a teeny tiny controller, and he likes his computer. And so I thought I will use these at some point in my life when I'm doing scrapbook pages about him. So that's why I have those. So that is my overview of all the pages that I've done using dies. I don't have a whole lot of recommendations or tips for how to use them in when you're actually cutting with them. All I would say is, one really special tip I found was really helpful when cutting is to use washi tape to hold your die to the plate. And if you have the magnetic plate or some sort of magnet that goes in your plates, use that too, because it's really helpful. So for example, here's the cutting plate that I have, and this is the magnet, and you can see I have used it a bit, and it got a little warped, and then this is very warped, but this is just like a shim that goes in between there to hold stuff, and it got a little warped. But this is for my electric cutter, my electric Gemini Junior cutting machine. But being able to use just a piece of tape. Also, this is how I keep I store my dies on a magnetic sheet. I got this on Amazon, so that's a pretty neat thing. So that goes on the magnet like that, but you need to cut it. So let's say you're going to use a piece of paper to cut it. You need to be able to line up your paper to make sure that it's going to cut pretty well. This one won't cut because it's too small. So the thing I learned was you put the cutting side down and then you take a piece of washi tape. Washi is good because it's very low tack, so it won't necessarily rip your paper. It might, so just be prepared. Sometimes if you paint on a piece of paper or you ink it and then you try to die cut it, it could pull away some of the ink. I have learned that. So you just get yourself a piece of washi. Or they even make, I think Spellbinders has like a tape that's like purple or something. And you just tape it down. If you need to tape it in more than one spot, you would tape it in more than one spot. And then you would lay it with the magnetic side, or with the, metal side on the magnet. And then with mine, you would layer it like this, I think. I don't know why that is so warped. And then you would put it through the machine. And then when it comes out, it has cut and it's held in place by the die and by the metal, by the magnet on one side and the washi on the other. So hopefully that makes sense. Follow your manufacturer's instructions for how to layer your, what they call the sandwich of your layers. On my Spellbinders manual machine, I don't have a magnetic piece. And so I just lay it down on the cutting plate, and then I lay my paper, and then my die, and then the other cutting plate. So just pay attention to what the manufacturer says for your sandwich, and you'll be in good shape. All right, let me know in the comments if you like to use dies in your layouts, if you ever have, or you think you might now. It can give you a whole bunch more supplies to use if you start thinking about how to use these things in other ways. I know Tara from Paper Snob did a really cool layout using some really beautiful flowers on hers, so go check that out definitely. And of course the other folks who have hopped along today, and the other ladies who have created videos this month. And then we will see you again next month for the next Tool Time Tuesday. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments. And I'll see you next time. Bye.